It's 2022. Time to make drastic changes that no one will actually follow through with. Wow, that was incredibly cynical, but I know what I'm about. Change is hard work and requires a lot of dedication. And a series that I think exemplifies this is a recent-ish series that I have fell in love with. The Lazy Lord Masters the Sword. It's also fun to say. This recent-ish series mainly follows Lord... Oh no, I don't know how to say his name. Lord Aaron Faria. Aaron Farah. Lord Aaron Faria. Lord Aaron Farah. Also known as the Lazy Lord. Losing his mother at an early age, he didn't do anything until the age of 15. All he would do is sleep in all day. Until he had a dream. A dream in which he was a man that trained with a sword every day for 37 years. Like we all do. Anywho, after he wakes up from the dream, the Lazy Lord can't sit still anymore. Almost like the dream was more important than a normal dream. This starts Lord Aaron down a path of the blade. Anyways, with that quick synopsis out of the way, the biggest reason I fell in love with this series so quickly is of our four main characters. Aaron Faria, Brett Lloyd, Ilya Lindsay, and Judith, I cannot find her last name. Well, let's start with Judith, no last name given. Now, the story does do a good job at making each of our four main characters pretty different from each other. Yeah, they all have different colored hair, but they make them different in their own way. And I'll get to what I mean very quickly. As all these students meet up at the Chrono Swordsman Academy. It's the continent's most prestigious swordsmanship academy, which accepts and trains only young individuals with exceptional talent, regardless of their nationality, gender, or class. 3 of our main characters are noble. Aaron and Brett are known as lords, and Ilya Lindsay comes from a noble family as well. However, Judith doesn't. She's a commoner, born on the streets, forced to steal to get by. Judith was always looked down upon. She was always underestimated, and this forced her to be tougher and meaner than those around her. This is the person we meet at the beginning of the series. Now, the academy is a place where anyone can make it, nobles and commoners alike. However, it still appears that there's discrimination between these two, as she's treated poorly, even though she consistently places high, often top 4. She's brash and headstrong, but not necessarily arrogant. She trains hard because she's aware of her situation. She knows she has to work twice as hard to get to the same level as nobles, and she does. She often works just as hard as anyone else, and often harder. As when Aaron starts pushing himself past his limits, she motivates herself to push past her limits. Not wanting to lose to the guy that was known as the Lazy Lord for years. And that's reasonable. But we get this a lot with Judith. The idea that she struggled and fought her entire life. She wasn't born into riches like basically everyone else in this academy. She's so used to relying on herself, which I think becomes an important theme to all of these characters. The idea that they can't rely on anyone but themselves. Judith trains all on her own. She stays by herself, but that's just it. By the midterm, we see her push herself too far, almost drowning in the swimming section, being saved by Aaron. This moment causes a shift in her character, realizing that there are people that don't want to hurt her. There are people that want the best for her. There are people that want to help her. To many of our characters and many of us, that seems relatively obvious. Of course, there are some people that don't want to hurt us. Of course, there are some people that want to help us. But Judith never had that person. She was a commoner. More than that, she seemingly lived in poverty. She had to steal to eat. She had to be aware of everyone around her because she had no one to look out for her. She was alone. But she's not anymore. By entering into this academy, she's placed herself amongst peers. And especially with Aaron, she's found people she can connect with. Moving on, let's talk about Brett Lloyd. Brett is honestly such an interesting character. He's set up really early as basically the school bully. He looks down on our main character, which, fair, he was known as the Lazy Lord for years, so understandable. But he always looks down on the rest of the students. Even Judith, wanting to surpass everyone around him, wanting to be the best. But is there a problem with wanting to be the best at something? I don't think there's anything necessarily wrong with that. You see, it's the execution where it becomes a problem. Brett doesn't see people below him as people, and the people in front of him he sees more as an obstacle than anything else. The challenge to get to the top. This means he often underestimates his opponents and overestimates himself, leading him to duel Aaron, winning with relative ease. However, even if he won, he was still kind of shook from that fight. Not because it was close or even because Aaron landed a hit, but because of his expression. It wasn't only the sword. His eyes, expression, and everything at that moment was firm, as if it wouldn't be broken. He focused all his attention on that vertical slash. What expression do I make when I swing my sword? I love this moment because from the outside looking in, this episode is a Brett win. He won against the main character, he got placed in one of the highest classes in the academy, and he definitely impressed basically everyone who saw this fight. But even though he won, even through this victory, Brett is still stuck on that fight, still stuck on that one attack. It shook him so much that he can't stop thinking about it. This leads Brett to question what he doesn't know. Yes, he's skilled in swordsmanship, but he's struggling on the mental side of things, leading him to seek guidance from Aaron, eventually actually learning from each other. As Aaron learns sword skills from Brett, and Brett gets something a lot more interesting. He gets a mental component to swordsmanship he's never thought of before, not to mention actual friends. Even when it leads to moments when he's actively jealous of Aaron, they still kind of treat each other as friends. Even when Brett feels discouraged, even when he feels alone, Aaron is still there. Not just Aaron, but Judith as well. Actual people he can rely on. Which brings us to Ilya Lindsay. Ilya is the #1 student throughout the entire series, considered on a different league than the other students. Even Brett and Judith, who were both second place for a good amount of the series, yet they couldn't approach her skill. She's the stereotypical ice queen, cold to everyone and isolated, separating herself from just about everyone but Aaron, as she's willing to help him because she doesn't like it when others talk behind people's back. She wanted to help him prove to everyone who trash talked him that he could do it, and that's pretty interesting, because it directly correlates to her backstory. Ilya's older brother was once called the greatest genius in the continent. So skilled that at the age of 10, he could beat most experts. That was until a commoner, Ignatz, appeared and won in 3 strikes. This caused everyone to treat him differently. Just because of one loss, he fell into despair because of all the pressure he felt from everyone around him. This causes Ilya to believe that she needs to do life alone. She didn't want to be swayed by other people, but she was already being swayed by them, already distancing herself from people. She already planned her entire life after one person, Ignatz. But after seeing Aaron, seeing someone who isn't bogged down by what people think of him, she realizes that she doesn't need to be alone to do what she wants. She can follow her dream and still be part of a community, still be part of people. Which brings us to Aaron. Aaron spent years in bed sleeping the day away until that dream. That dream changed everything. Now he can't rest until he's wielding a sword. And it's not until he starts wielding a sword that he realizes how much life means. He realizes how loving his family is, how caring and supportive they are. When he trains with a sword, his family gets worried about him overworking. His father asks if he wants to go to an academy, as they all just want the best for him. I mentioned the idea of trying to do life alone, and the reason I really clinged onto this was because of the most recent chapter, in which Eren gets his fortune told by an orc, getting some advice that when things aren't working out as planned, remember, one need not be alone to stand alone. Eren is confused by this advice, mainly because it kind of sounds like nonsense, but I love the idea behind this advice. Because Eren isn't alone. And I'm not saying that because he has an advisor or whatever this dude is, but because he's never been alone. Even when he's alone physically, there have been people that have his back. His incredibly loving and supportive family for a webtoon series, his friends who've trained him, everyone who's helped him become better than he is. I love this because it goes to show that you're never actually alone. All the help you've gotten, all the support and love you receive, those people who've said those kind and supportive words to you, they're all still a part of you, even if they're not here right now with you. Even when you're by yourself, you're never alone. But that's all for today. So like always, thank you for watching. And have you joined my Discord server? I'm having a Q&A at 6 p.m. Eastern time. So drop by if you have a question or just want to hang out. I might make a video on it. We'll see how long it goes. Anywho, I hope I'll see you next week. Take care.